Hey, how's it going? It's Jasper from Nomo here, and this is part 2 of our No Code Essential series, where I walk through some basic building blocks of no code tools, basic knowledge that are concepts that are transferable, so you can learn any no code tools very easily after you learn these basic concepts. And in today's video, we're going to walk through two concepts, one data types, and the second one being conditions. Let's get right into it. There are so many data types out there with no-code database. For example, on Airtable, there are many data types. That's very nice, very useful, but not every single data type are transferable to other tools. Some tools don't include some of the data types that Airtable offers. So in this video, we're going to walk through the basics, the building blocks, the fundamentals, which are string, numbers, Boolean, date or time, and the list. Let's go through them one by one. For string is the first one, string or text. It is a sequence of characters and the most commonly used data type to store text values. Additionally, a string can also include numbers and symbols. However, it is always treated as text. What this means is that if you store a number as a string or a text, you can't do math with the number, nor can you compare this number with another number because it is treated as text. So if you want to do math or compare numbers, you should go with the next type, which is very straightforward, numbers. A number can be an integer, which has no decimals, or it can have decimal places. Usually no-code database will ask you if your number needs decimals when you create it. You will want to go with this data type, number, to store a numerical value if you later want to perform math functions or compare this value with another number. That's the data type you should go with rather than storing a number as a string. Next up, Boolean. This data type represents the value of true or false, these two. When working with Boolean data type, it is helpful to keep in mind that sometimes a Boolean value is also represented as 0 for false or 1 for true. Okay, next up, date or time. This is a very straightforward one, but very commonly used. Depending on your configuration, date and time can be combined into one field, or they can be separated into two. Last but not least, the data type, it's list. A list is a collection of values, a collection of data values in a specific order, typically all of the same type. If you do make a field a list type, you can store multiple values in the same record. There are so many more data types that the no-code database are providing, which is really nice to learn as you go, but these are the essential ones that I believe are transferable from tools to tools. Even later when you want to go down the programming route, they still apply. Now we know the data types. Let's move on to conditions. What separates web applications to a website is the ability to display the right information to the right user, to display dynamic content to depending on who the user is and what functions the user has performed on your platform. So your application needs to have the ability to filter out content and only feed the right ones to specific users. And this is achieved by setting conditions. We have mentioned a data type Boolean that indicates true or false just previously a few seconds ago. In the case of condition, it is outputting essentially a Boolean value. For every condition is essentially outputting a Boolean value, true or false. When a condition is met, the condition will output true. When a condition is not met, the condition will output false. And based on the result of the condition, we then use this result to decide what we want to display to a user. Or even we can decide if we want to continue and perform an action on your web application or trigger a automation tool. Depending on what the no-code tool that you're currently using. But conditions is a very important concept to learn, so let's go through the essentials. First up, it's or it's not. This condition checks if a data record matches a given value, or if a given value matches a data record. For example, we can check if a current user's username matches the one you provided in the condition. It will output true if the target data record matches the value. It will output false if it does not match. For it's not, like the previous one, it's literally the reverse. This condition checks if the data record matches the provided value, but it will output true if they don't match. It will output false if they do match. So it's the reverse. Next up, it's one-off, it's not one-off. This condition checks if a value is included in a list, which is the data type that we just learned. So it will output true if the value is included in a list, a collection of data record, and it will output false if the value is not included in the list. It's not one-off, it's the reverse. It will output true when the value is not included in the list, and it will output false if the value is included. Next up, has, or sometimes known as contains, or has not, does not contain. This condition pretty much does the same job as it's one-off or it's not one-off. The only difference is how you structure your conditions. So you will put the value first and then the list next for it's one-off, but for has or contains, you will put a list first and then put the value next. It's literally the difference in how you structure your condition. So it will output true when the list includes the value you provide, and it will output false when the list does not include the value. For has not, does not contain, it's the reverse. It will output true when the list does not include the value, and it will output false when the list does include the value. Next up, it's empty, null. This condition checks if the target data record has a value in it. It will output true if there is no value and false if there is value. And for it's not empty, it will output true if there is a value and false if there is no value. Next up, it's equal to. This condition compares two numbers, and if it is equal, it will output true. It will output false otherwise. That means if it is greater or less, it will be false. Next up, it's greater than. This condition also compares two numbers. For example, number A, compare number A to number B. It will output true if A is bigger than B. It will output false if A is a smaller or an equal number. For it's less than, it's the reverse of it's greater than. It will output true if number A is smaller than B. It will output false if A is a bigger number or an equal number. Last two, and or. They are used to join multiple conditions to make one compound collective, one big condition. And for and, it will output true only when all of the conditions in the compound condition are met. Then that will output true. For or, it will output true as long as one of the condition is met. So any condition would do. That's why on some of the tools like Softer, they will let you pick all or any. So that's basically correlating to and or. So if we're using an exam as an analogy, and requires you to get a full score on the paper to pass, which in our context is outputting a true value. While for or, getting one answer right on the paper will give you a pass, which in our case means that it will output a true value as long as you get one answer right, one condition is met. Hope that makes sense. And there you have it, data types and conditions. They are two of the most important concepts that you need to learn when you're working with no-code tools, since they are the building blocks of a web application or any automation tools or any database really. So yeah, if you find this video helpful, please subscribe to my channel, follow my Twitter, share this video with your no-code cohort or friends. Until next time, ciao.